Right, very good morning. On the same time zone as me. It's great when I get somebody on the same time zone. Albert Berchtold, Executive Director of the United States Parachute Association. Very good morning.
Good morning, Regan. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, my friend?
Doing awesome. Doing awesome.
It's been a while. I've been the last few days on Facebook Memories. A lot of the Dubai events have been coming up, and you've been seeing us all out there at the championships.
Yes.
Me looking a bit thinner, I must say.
I saw some pictures from those of you and I out there holding cameras, taking pictures and videos together.
Yeah. That's a really iconic picture because it's got that twisty building in the background. And when we took that picture, it's only half complete.
Yeah. And now it's completely done. Looks wonderful now.
So, Executive Director, what does that mean? What do you do?
Correct. So, United States Parachute Association has a board of directors, which is 22 USPA members that are elected to that board. That is what I used to be on. I was a national director for USPA, and then before that I was the Southeast Regional Director. So that is the board, that is the elected officials of USPA. On the other side of USPA, there is our headquarters and headquarters staff. So we have 16 folks who work here at USPA headquarters. The executive director is the person who oversees the headquarters management. So I make sure everything runs here. We have a set of directors here at the office as well: safety and training, government relations, communications, sport promotion, you name it. We've got different people who do different things here at the office, but I oversee the office staff.
And from that, you came from your previous role, you were at Performance Designs, parachute manufacturers.
Correct. I worked at Performance Designs for about 14 years down in Florida, in DeLand, Florida. Wonderful time, great company. Really loved being there, but very happy to be over here at USPA now.
And you were running the Florida Swoop League as well at the time.
Yes, the Florida Canopy Piloting Association.
Yes.
FLCPA. Was around before me. A couple of guys started it, actually Ian Bobo and Justin Thornton started it a few years prior to me getting into it, and Chris Hayes ran it for a number of years, and then around 2007 or so I took it over. Chris passed on the reins to me, and I ran it for about 12 years, and I had the joy of watching it grow, watching the baby grow up and get bigger and bigger, and now the meets are, it used to be there were 10 people at a meet, and when I passed it over, there were, we'd have meets that were 50, 60, 70 people. So great time, very great place to come train, and a good training platform for everybody.
Do you remember when it started, when people started competing canopy piloting?
Well, it started a little before me. I started competing probably around 2003, 2004, doing regional things up in New Jersey area. And I ran a couple swoop meets up there just to kind of get people involved. And I learned to swoop on the pond up there at Skydive Cross Keys. And then eventually I moved down to Florida in 2006. I made my first US team in 2007, where I went to Picton, Australia. It was a World Cup there. So that was my first experience on the US team.
And the US team, we're going to talk a little bit about that. It costs a lot of money. It's not government funded. For yourself, tell me, Albert, when you were in competitions, what kind of outlay did you have to get to a world meet, for instance?
It was big. I've been doing it for about 13, 14 years now. So there's a lot of training involved. There's your personal training, however much you choose to do, 200, 300, 500, 800 jumps per year that you would focus on whatever discipline you're in. For me, luckily that was hop and pop, so I saved a couple bucks on the jumps. But also there's equipment, there's canopies. In canopy piloting, you burn through line sets pretty quick because they're thin lines. So there's maintenance as well. There's travel costs of getting to local or regional meets, the hotels involved with that, time away from work. So it's a pretty big endeavor to participate in those types of events. And that's before you even get to the actual part of going to the international competition, the flight, the hotel, the jumps, the registrations, all that kind of good stuff. So,
and the USPA, there's no involvement financially from them at all?
So the USPA itself does not contribute directly to the team members.
Yeah.
The U.S. Parachute Team Trust Fund was started in 1986 by Mike Truffer when he was on the board.
Is it that long ago? Wow.
Yeah. It's been around for quite some time. It's been 35 years, actually. This is
Wow.
the 35th anniversary of the Team Trust Fund. And that trust fund was started with a $100 donation by Mike.
Right.
And since then, it's grown and it's gotten larger and larger. And there have been some sizable donations to it. One was when Mike Truffer passed. He actually left a good sum of money in his will to the Team Trust Fund. Robert Wasp, when he passed away, Z Hill's jumper, he left a huge sum of money as well to the Team Trust Fund. So there's been quite a few people who have done planned giving for the Team Trust Fund. But the team each year, the last couple of years, has put out in the neighborhood of around $100,000 per year in support of the U.S. Parachute Team, which is a huge sum of money.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big, pretty sizable amount. But when you break that down to the size of the U.S. team between all of the disciplines, we've got about 100 people on our team. So if you think about it, that puts about $1,000 towards every individual athlete. So, which basically pretty much covers your registration to go to a world championship. So it's good, it's awesome, it's great, but it's pretty much the surface of the costs associated with being on the U.S. Parachute Team.
Well, you're stepping up, putting your feet on the pedals this year with your marathon cycle. Tell us a bit what you're doing, where you're going from and to.
So I had this crazy idea. I also, on the side from skydiving, I ride a bike and I used to ride a lot when I was younger, and then I had a bike for a while and it sat in the back of my garage for a number of years. And then, as many people, COVID got more people back outside. So the beginning of last year, I pulled my bike back out of the garage and I started riding again, just recreationally. And I got up here to Virginia around October timeframe this year and started riding a little bit. And I looked in, and there's some great rides around here in Virginia. And I wanted to do something fun outside. And I also have a huge passion for our U.S. Parachute Team. And I saw a way to put those two things together. And I set up I'm planning on doing a ride across the state of Virginia, from starting at the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. I'm going to head west, and then I'm going to head down through the Shenandoah Mountains, across the Blue Ridge Mountains, down to the southwest corner of Virginia. So across the entire state of Virginia. It's about 520 miles and about 32,000 feet of mountain climbing to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and do that over the course of probably about 6 days. I haven't worked out the exact schedule yet. I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
But I've also set up a donation and pledge page. So if anybody wants to contribute, they can go to that page and they contribute $1, a dime, a nickel, a quarter, whatever they want per mile that I pedal. And all of that money, all those donations are going to go to the U.S. Parachute Team Trust Fund.
Fantastic.
And I see what I go through, and I see what my friends go through every year in trying to raise funds and cover the financial costs of being on the U.S. Parachute Team. And that's not going to change while I'm on the U.S. team, unless I'm still on the U.S. team 20 years from now, who knows. But I want to set up something, and I want to make it better for the people that come after me.
Right.
I want the kids that are starting in the sport now or will be starting in the sport 10 years from now, when they get to the point where they're on the U.S. Parachute Team or they're competing to compete in international competitions, I want them to have more of that financial burden taken off of their shoulders. And this is the way we do it.
I mean, what a privilege and what an honour to represent your country in competition. It's just the peak of achievement, isn't it, for any athlete, I think?
It's huge. It's amazing. It's an awesome experience. I can't say enough about it. And I've done it on and off for the last 13 years. And any year that I haven't been an active competitor on the team, I've also stepped up to be the team manager, the coach, the head of delegation, whatever the team needs at that point. You know, there was a year when I had broken my ankle, so I couldn't compete. I missed nationals. So I went to that meet, and I believe that one was Russia in 2013. I went as the head of delegation for the team. and I stood there and I videoed landings and I helped the guys out and dealt with all the logistics and protests and challenges of that the team would face, so they could focus on jumping and doing the best they could for the country. So
did we mention, I don't know if we mentioned it, how people donate? Did we say the address, the donation address?
We didn't yet. It's on Pledge It. It's a platform called Pledge It, and unfortunately I didn't think ahead of time when I was creating it, because it's really long web address, but it's pledgeit.org, and then it's like cycle across, but maybe we can put it in the description, or
I'll try and put it on the screen as well.
Yeah, that way people can see it. But yeah, if you click on there, it's a couple quick steps. It takes about 20 seconds to make a donation or a pledge. Put your email address in, put what you want to put in, and then it shows up in the tally. And I will say that it's been a real motivator watching friends, family. The first person that stepped up and made a donation on this, current member of the U.S. parachute team, Justin Price, was the first one. I put it up, and within like 2 minutes, I see a pledge come in, and I'm like, wow, how did that happen so fast? And I look, and it's Justin, and he sees it too. It's a huge cost to participate in these kind of things. The United States is not, our U.S. parachute team is not government funded. We don't get money from the U.S. Olympic Committee. There's other countries that do have government funding or U.S. Olympic Committee funding. We do not have that in the United States. So it's funded by the U.S. Team Trust Fund and our own personal pockets. And those sponsors that individual team members can find. Everybody on the team goes out and tries to find equipment sponsors, and can they find a drop zone to help them out with jumps and things like that. And it all goes a long way to helping the people on the team in that moment. But I would love to set it up so that we don't have to go out and spend, if you're on the US team, you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours of your time trying to find people to, give you a couple bucks for jumps here, or a couple bucks for your flight here or there, or scrounging that way. Maybe we can have a trust fund that is set up that doesn't just help the team right now, but helps the team every year for as long as it takes, for well into the future, to help our team take care of that financial burden of being on the team, and let the competitors focus on doing what they do best, which is kick butt and fly parachutes
and put medals around their necks.
Try their damnedest.
When did you start jumping, Albert?
I started jumping in 1999. Jumping for about a little over 20 years now. Yep.
Where was that?
I made my first skydives. I was just out of university, and I was a compliance auditor. Go figure. And I wanted something to do on the weekends. I took a job. I was a traveling position. They sent me out to Ohio, and I spent all of my weekends out wherever I was. They flew me home once a month.
Wow.
So I had 3 weekends to do something, and I had just gotten out of school, and it was my first full-time, career style job. So for the first time in my life, I had a job with income, and I had disposable income.
Yeah.
It was a new thing to me. I wasn't a poor college kid eating ramen noodles anymore.
Right.
But I said, well, let me take up skydiving. So I went and I looked on online. I looked on USPA.org. I found the local drop zone, and I went there. It was a place called Air Ohio. And I would actually run into their owner again later in life. The Butchers own that place, Sherry Butcher, who is also on the board of directors now. So it was great to see her again as a board member, 15 years later when I joined the board. But I went out there and I started jumping on the weekends, and I went through my AFF program. And as soon as I finished AFF, took me a couple months, my job transferred me. So I was one of those people at that drop zone who did AFF and then disappeared. And they're like, oh, there's another one. He must have quit. Yeah. He's all done. But they had moved me to Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah.
So I found another drop zone there, a place called Delmarva. It was in Lower Delaware. And I went out there and I showed up, and they said, okay. I said, I'm here. I'd like to skydive. And they said, well, do you have a license? And I said, no, I don't have a license. They said, do you have a logbook? And I said, yeah, here it is. And they looked at my logbook and they said, oh, okay. You finished your AFF, but we're going to have you jump with a coach. and you'll have to rent some gear from us. And I said, oh, that's great. You have gear for me. And I don't know anybody. You're going to give me somebody to skydive with too. That sounds like a great deal.
Yes.
Sign me up. So I made a few jumps there. And then a couple weeks, I was transferred again for work.
Wow.
And I was up in the New York area. So I had a very different experience in getting started in skydiving, where most people start out and they have routes and they'll get their A license. They'll make a couple hundred jumps at a home drop zone before they ever leave.
Yeah.
I was at half a dozen drop zones before I ever had an A license.
Wow.
And it taught me a lot. I had to learn a lot. I was forced to, I had to learn how to do gear checks. It was important because, I was like, well, I'm the one who's got to be responsible. I've got to learn this new landing area.
Yeah.
And I took on a big part of that responsibility for myself because I knew that's what I had to do. And as I learned more in the sport, I learned that no matter where I went, there were good people in the sport. And I never realized it so much, but there were people looking out for me the whole time. Yeah. There were instructors, there were coaches, there were mentors on those drop zones who I didn't see it at the time, but years later when I look back and I said, oh, that guy said something to me. And I realized that he was looking out for me. And it showed me what the sport was really about. It was about people taking care of other people in the sport. And I learned that. And I've tried to carry that forward, because you go to a drop zone and you'll see people. You see them everywhere you go. You'll see this younger jumper. He's walking around. He's dragging a pilot chute, or he's looking around. He's looking lost. He's scratching his head. And you can tell he's lost, right? Well, don't pass that guy by. Stop and ask him, hey, man, you need a hand with something? You look puzzled. Are you trying to find, what are you looking for? You need help in the landing area? You're just looking for the bathroom? What can I do for you? How can I help you? Because that's the type of community we are. And I think the more people that do that, the more inviting this community can be, and show what we're all really about. We're a bunch of good people that love skydiving together with our friends. So that's kind of how that's maybe the first chapter of how I got started.
It is magical, that relationship we have with each other. It is absolutely incredible, isn't it? There's not many walks in life where, outside aviation, there's not many other disciplines or activities or sports that have that same kind of bond. It's absolutely incredible. I think I've said before, you jump with somebody once, or you talk to somebody once on a drop zone, and you are a friend for life.
Yeah, friend for life. You'll run into him 20 years later, and you walk up and you give him a big hug, high five, say, hey man, haven't seen you in so long. You scratch your head and go, oh, it's been about 20 years. I barely recognized you. Good to see you again, buddy. Yeah. It's like your old friends. And skydiving has that bond, that it doesn't know politics. It doesn't know skin color. It doesn't know nationality. It doesn't know where you're from. It doesn't know what your job is. It doesn't know how much money you make. It doesn't know any of that stuff. It just knows that you're a brother or sister of the sky, and you fly together. That's it.
I was chatting with somebody just before Christmas, and it's a skydiver I've known for over 20 years. And for some reason, work came into it. She asked what I was doing now. And I suddenly realized I had absolutely no idea what her job was. No idea. Absolutely no. I couldn't even put a pin on it, And I said, isn't it amazing that we're such good friends 20 years in and I've no idea what you do?
Yeah. If you run into people, it's really cool. And it's something that I've tried to do along the way, is when I run into people and I start talking with people, I ask them what they do. Hey, what do you do? And it's amazing the people you meet. You meet, doctors, lawyers, construction workers, plumbers, people who have office jobs, executives, secretaries, you name it. There's if there's anything you want or need information on, or want to hire somebody to do something, it's pretty much guaranteed you can find a skydiver to do it.
I remember one evening at Imperial Bravo, we were sat having beers after the day's jumping on one of the wooden benches, and there was a girl, she was a stripper. There was a guy, he just got out of prison, and then another guy, he was a Crown Court judge. At the top, and they were all just laughing and joking and drinking together. It was amazing.
Yeah. I remember old friend of mine, she's unfortunately passed away now. Her name was Liz Mann, and she used to work at the Manifest office at Cross Keys. And she would get these folks that would come up to the window. They would basically be doing door-to-door sales.
Right.
And they would come up and say, "Hey, I'm Bob, and I'm selling copy paper," or "I'm Bob and I do tree cutting," or "I'm Joe and I do whatever it is they do." And they would start to go into their sales pitch, and she would say, "Hey, that's wonderful. I think that's great that you probably do great doing selling copy paper. I'd love to hear more about it, but we actually get our copy paper from Jim over there. He's a skydiver, and the Bill over there, he works on our plumbing, and Mike over there, he's a doctor if we ever need medical assistance. So we actually have a pretty good network of people here. But if you're interested, we could probably get you up on a tandem and see about getting you into the air, and you can see what this place is really all about and see what all these people are actually out here for." And she would turn it around, and she had a reasonable rate. She would actually get some of them to sign up and do a tandem.
Fantastic.
And she goes, "And then after you're done doing a tandem, now you're part of the community. Now you can sell copy paper to everybody in this hangar."
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So Cross Keys, you spent a lot of your early jumps up there?
Yeah, I eventually settled in, after traveling for a few years, I settled in New York City. I got a job in Manhattan, and I worked there for a while, and I would work during the week, and then I would spend the weekends down at Cross Keys. I would hop on the train, hop in my car, head down to the DZ. I had an old family trailer that I parked at the drop zone, and I lived in on the weekends. And I spent all week dreaming about going to the DZ. And I spent all weekend dreading going back to work on Monday. And there's a lot of people, I'm sure, in our sport who live this way. And eventually I decided I was I was the quintessential weekend warrior. And eventually I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. So I quit my job in New York, packed up my apartment, I left, and I moved into the family trailer we had in Cross Keys. And Monday came, and I was sitting on the couch in the hangar with my feet up, watching The Price is Right. And the full-time instructors are walking by going, "Hey, Albert, you're still here," because they knew me from being there every weekend. And it's like, "Yeah, I'm still here." Tuesday rolled around, I'm still there. Wednesday rolled around, and I'm still there. And they said, "Albert, what are you still doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm not going back." And they're like, "Oh, you're not going back to work this week? You got the week off?" And I said, "No, I'm not going back at all. I'm all done with that." And they looked at me and they just kind of nodded, and they're like, "All right." You can tell that the switch had been flipped, Right. I said, "I'm done. I'm cutting away," right? So here I am.
How many jumps did you have then? Did you have any ratings or anything? Or?
Didn't have any ratings. I had maybe 700 or 800 jumps.
Oh, right, okay.
And I said, I'm just, I wasn't gonna do the rat race anymore. So eventually, Mary Farwell, who ran the gear store there, it was called Square 3. It was one of the squares, Square 1, Square 2, Square 3. There was a Square 3, and she was the manager there. And she said, "Hey, Albert, I could use some help in the store. I need somebody who can help out with, running the shop when I'm away." She had to be away for a little bit for some stuff. And she said, "I need somebody who I can trust to, unlock, lock up, run a cash register, balance a checkbook, that kind of little stuff. Help put demo gear out, rental gear out for people." And I said, "Sure, I'll do that." She said, "Well, I have an application for you to fill out." So I filled out the application, and she said, "Okay, well, come by tomorrow and we'll look at it." And she came back the next day and said, "I'm sorry, I can't hire you." And I said, "Well, why not?" And she said, "Well, I can't offer you a salary that wouldn't be offensive." And she had been looking at my job history, and she saw I was living in Manhattan.
Yeah.
In New York City. I had a good job. I was a manager at a publication, and I was making good money, and this was a small-time gear store. And I said, "You know what, Mary?" I said, "Don't worry about what's in that history. That's exactly what it is. It's history.
Yeah.
What do you want to pay? Let's work on that, and we'll go from there." And she was relieved, I think, and we found a good fit. And I spent a couple of years there working with her, and had a great time. And in that time frame, I got to jump a bunch. I was either in the store or I was on the airplane, one or the other. I started swooping there. I started Swoop Club up there where we jump every Tuesday and start at 6 in the morning and jump till about noon and just get wet and hop back in the Cessna. And it was a really good time. And then I met all of the manufacturers as well because I started ordering gear for people.
Yeah.
And I met all the folks at all the major manufacturers. And at one point, the folks from PD, Cola, gave me a call. Cola and Isaiah from Performance Designs called and they said, hey, we're doing a summer tour. Would you like to tour for us in the Northeast region? And I said, well, that sounds interesting. I said, I'm really comfortable here. I like working with Mary and I like it at Cross Keys. What would this be? And she said, well, it's a contract job. It's for 5 months, I think. Yeah. And you'll tour around the Northeast US and bring demo canopies and talk to people about the company and help them with maintenance problems and tell them what we do here at PD and just be a steward to the area. And I said, okay, that sounds like a lot of fun. I said, well, what happens after 5 months? They said, well, your contract's up and you're all done. And I said, well, that's a pretty big life change to know that it's going to be done in 5 months. And she said, well, maybe another job will open up and we'll have something for you. But I can't guarantee it. And I was at another crossroads in life. What was I going to do, right? Do I stay where I'm at the gear store, comfortable, relaxing, getting to jump a fair bit? Or do I try and do this other thing, working for Performance Designs, this major manufacturer in the industry and, maybe the next step in a career path. So I took the leap and I took that job with PD and about halfway through the tour, they said, well, we got another job for you. We'd love to have you come work down in Florida with us. So I finished out my summer tour and that fall, October of 2006, I moved down to DeLand and started working in the office and stayed there for 14 years.
What was the first job that you did with them in the office?
My first job was in the marketing department. It was a newly created position called dealer relations. And it was a person in the office who was responsible for helping disseminate information out to dealers, and then also making sure that the thoughts and opinions and things that had to do with the dealers then had someone to speak to at the company. So I took information in from them and then I disseminated information back out to them. So anytime we had meetings in the office where somebody said, hey, I think we should do this, I was the guy who would sit in the room and go, well, wait a sec, I don't think our dealers are going to like that. We should probably maybe we should do this instead. Yeah. So I was kind of the voice for them in the office a fair bit. And I communicated stuff that they had brought back. If somebody said, well, we kind of like this, or yeah, we'd like to see this, I would bring that back into the company and introduce it where it needed to be introduced so we could make meaningful change.
Really, really interesting. So somebody watching now, 300 or 400 jumps, loving being at the drop zone every weekend, hating Sunday night, maybe staying in his car on the DZ, on the DZ overnight on Sunday so that he can stay that little bit longer, leaving early Monday morning to get to work. What would you say to that person right now?
It's a different picture for everybody. For me at that point in my life, I was single. I had a girlfriend, but that didn't last for very long. I didn't have any kids, didn't have any major commitments, so I could do that, right? I had that flexibility in my life, which was great. But you really have to, you have to do what you want to do. You have to follow your heart, and sometimes that means, cutting that job away and going and living at the drop zone and doing something different. But other times, a lot of people's heart is really with their family too, and providing for their family. So there's different pulls and pushes that are on different people. So they've really got to search for what's important to them and making their life full in whatever that means to them.
When I get asked that question a lot, because I've switched and cut away from different things a few times in my life too, and people have said, it's such a big decision. How do you decide to move from that to that or from that to that? And the kind of glib answer I always give is, well, we're probably only here for maximum 100 years anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It'll pass. So even if you get it wrong, don't worry, it won't last forever.
I hear you. Yeah.
So one more time, the website where people can donate to this fund for the team is?
It's on Pledge It.
Yeah.
Give me just a moment and I'll get you the exact address.
The last time I checked, you'd currently got just over $2,000, I think.
Well, we had a nice hit last night, and it's actually over 3,000 now.
Nice.
So we're around $3,300.
Yeah.
So
keep it going.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to keep it going. I think it's a great cause, and I hope it continues to do well. I hope we can get up into 5 figures. Get over that $10,000 number. And
when are you doing it, Albert? When are you going to start pedaling? When is it?
I'm going to start pedaling on May 22nd.
May 22nd.
So they have a I just looked. It's over 4,000 now.
Wow.
$4,300 as of right this moment. So it's amazing. So it's pledgeit.org, cycle-across Virginia -4 US parachute team. So it's a pretty long one.
It's on Facebook and it's all over your Facebook.
It's on Facebook. I got a YouTube thing set up, so and maybe we can put it in the description here for people.
Yeah.
Or just send me an email, berchtold@uspa.org, and I'll send you a link to it. That's probably the easier way to do it. May 22nd is the departure date.
Yeah.
And it's part of there's a group here that has put together what they call a grand departure. So they did it. They've done it the last couple years. Last year they did it in October. They canceled they were supposed to have one in May. They canceled it because of COVID. They did one in October, and they had about 25 to 30 people who started the ride. And the scary part is only about half of those people finished the whole ride. The rest of them, for whatever reason, couldn't finish. Like equipment problems, bike problems, got tired. There was also some bad weather. I think it was right around the time there was a hurricane. So the guys that did finish, I talked to some of them, and they looks like they went through a lot of rain to get through to get there, and so it was a pretty challenging ride. But with knowing what I'm doing it for, and the motivation of all these folks behind me who have put up anything, whether it's a nickel a mile, 10 cents a mile, 25 cents, whatever they want to do, whatever anybody wants to do, it all goes to a great cause. So and it's nice to have that little push. When I look at that page, when I'm pedaling along and my legs get tired after I've done 100 miles, and I look at that and go, if I go another mile, there's another $20 in for the team. Yeah. So here I go, I'm pedaling more. That'll be a big driver for me.
Really is. Albert, great to hear about it. Well done for making this happen, and great to catch up with you as well and have a little bit of a chat and to find out about your history. It's been good.
Good to catch up with you too, and look forward to talking to you again sometime soon. Next time we'll get into some more of the future of USPA stuff.
Oh wow, we'll pencil you in then for a couple of months down the line for another interview.
Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff coming down the line. We're in that transition mode right now. I've spent the last couple months working with our outgoing director, Ed Scott, and he's done a wonderful job for this organization over his 25-year career here.
Wow.
And he's now retired, so I've gotten the crash course over the last couple months, and we've got some good stuff moving forward. So
all right, we'll get you back on in a couple of weeks, and we'll do that. All right, man. Thanks very much, Albert. Take care. Have a great day.
Awesome talking with you, Regan. Thank you.